I hope you enjoyed the video. This is going to be a little chat for people that are planning on doing this hike themselves. Obviously, some sections of this hike are really pretty, like at the campsites, and there are bits of that you would have seen in the video which are really quite nice, but overall this is an extremely tough hike. It's nothing like hiking the southern section of the Prom. You need to be pretty well prepared, extremely well prepared to do this hike. You need to have all the necessary gear. You need to be pretty confident navigating in off-track conditions, because a lot of this hike you are not really following any track at all, or only a very old track that hasn't been maintained for a very long time. And that's exactly what it's advertised as. Parks Victoria say that they don't maintain this hike. It's designed as a wilderness section, so that's fine. We knew what we were getting ourselves into. We knew it was going to be tough, and it was, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to tell you that as well. So two key things that I wanted to say about the hike are water availability and navigation. In terms of water availability in summertime, which is when we did it in January. We did it over a particularly hot weekend. There had been some rain about a week prior at the Prom, at Wilsons Prom, but there hadn't been much rain for a while, is my understanding. And in summertime, I think that what we experienced is a pretty good approximation of what water availability is going to be like, based on all the track notes that I'd read before we did this hike. So at 5 Mile Beach, there's a trickle. You'll see in the track notes, the description below, where to find that. It's sort of just off to the left-hand side from the campsite, as you're looking towards the track going towards Johnny Suey. At Johnny Suey the next day, if you're doing this at a different time of year when water's more available, Johnny Suey would be an amazing spot to camp at. And the section between 5 Mile Beach and Johnny Suey campsite is not so overgrown. It's quite easy to follow, or it was when we did it. However, Johnny Suey, there was no water flowing at all. We pushed a long way up the estuary, just when you're on the beach at Johnny Suey, to the right-hand side, looking back towards the campsite, the designated signed campsite. Looking up that estuary, we bush bashed about 100 metres up there, and there was a stagnant pool of fresh water, but a week or two later it had probably dried up altogether. So I don't think you could rely on that at all. But again, if you're doing this during cooler months when there's been more rain, water's going to be more available there. The next available water is not until you get to Tin Mine Cove, so you need to be pretty well stocked up either at 5 Mile Beach or at Johnny Suey. And you'll see in the track notes below that what I recommend is carrying a lot of water capacity for this hike, particularly for the section between either 5 Mile Beach or Johnny Suey and Tin Mine Cove, because you're not going to be able to find any between those two spots. At Tin Mine Cove, the water quality is extremely poor. The water tasted very metallic, which is possibly related to the fact that there used to be a tin mine there. That might be why the water's metallic, I don't know. And it's very brown, and it wasn't, refreshing at all, but we needed it. We'd sort of didn't have much left by the time we got to Tin Mine Cove. I was carrying 4.5 litres. The other two blokes were carrying 4 litres each, and I would recommend carrying more than that in the heat. So Tin Mine Cove, the water is what it is. We filled up. We took as much as we could carry, but the third day took us 12.5 hours to get from Tin Mine Cove back to the car park. One short section in Chinaman Swamp, that 4 kilometre section took us 5.5 hours. So when you're walking for that long, you need to make sure you've got enough water, that's for sure. However, once you get to Lower Barry campsite and Barry Creek campsite, the water there was flowing very well in summertime, and was good quality water. So that was the best drink of water we'd had for a couple of days, which was really refreshing by the time we got there. As I said, the next comment that I wanted to make is just on following the track. As I said, the section between 5 Mile Beach and Johnny Suey, that's easy to follow. The section going along the beach, Johnny Suey, to the lighthouse, easy to follow. You're on a beach, and other than one section where you're following the rocks around the cove, it's pretty easy to follow that section. From the lighthouse to Tin Mine Cove, that's when you're first starting to experience most of that off-track sort of navigation. The track was, you could see a sort of pathway, but it was very overgrown, obviously. And then on the third day, the track sort of in some sections disappears completely. It's extremely overgrown. There was flagging tape for some sections, but that had blown away, had become weathered, and the pink tape had turned completely white, which looks the same as some of the white flowers in that section. So if they are still there, they haven't been blown away, or the tree hasn't been knocked over, bush or whatever it's attached to, then it's still really hard to follow. So finding flagging tape in some sections on the third day was almost impossible, and in one section we lost the flagging tape altogether. And that's the main point that I want to make, is no matter what, you really have to follow the trail. It's not the trail in this map, and I'll put on the screen what the difference between the map and what the actual flagging tape, the new track, looks like. There's quite a deviation between the two, so it's really important that you're following a good quality GPS, because if you do manage to get off the track, and there was one point where we did lose the flagging tape, and we did attempt to just keep pushing south, because you're always going in a constant direction, it's easy to see where you've got to go, but if you lose the track, you end up in the most dense vegetation, and that's the real benefit of following the track and following that flagging tape. Even when it disappears, you've got to backtrack, you've got to find the flagging tape and keep trying to follow it, because it leads you around that really dense vegetation. So I guess in summing up, would I recommend this hike? Not really. It's kind of a hike for the sake of a hike. I would recommend just going to 5 Mile Beach or to Johnny Suey. That section of the walk is really nice. The walk along the road isn't that bad. The flies at the Northern Prom are pretty intense. The water's pretty horrible. I think it'd be better in winter, but I hope that this was helpful. And if you do give the full circuit a go, then best of luck to you, and hope you enjoyed the video. All right, see ya.